Jimbo Paris, and you are listening to The Jimbo Paris Show. All right, what's up, people? This is Jimbo here. Welcome again to the show. Today we have Kelly. She is the owner of Heartspace. She's a frequency therapist, transformational coach. She does a lot of interesting things. And this is exactly why I brought her on to the show. And this whole synergy of kind of being this Reiki master, this healer, this teacher, and also an author and an entrepreneur, I think she has a very interesting blend that can really influence a lot of people and maybe educate a lot of people too. So let's see what she has to say.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Jimbo?
Excellent. Excellent. So this show is about you. So let's begin. So can you tell me a bit about yourself, who you
Yeah.
are?
So one, I loved the thank you for that intro and the music. I feel so seen. Yeah, my journey of the becoming, I like to call it. We're all just in this endless journey of becoming and remembering. So my conscious understanding of my remembering and becoming started in college with a weight loss journey. I went into college like 200, 250 pounds. And then it was like a light switch. I was just like, I don't know why, but I just know. And my mindset locked in with this conviction that I was going to drop the weight and started being shifted into all these different changes. It led me to yoga, meditation. I was an entrepreneur right out of school. So I was reading a lot of personal development and sales and entrepreneur things. And for me, entrepreneurship is synonymous to your spiritual awakening. It's the understanding of taking something that doesn't exist in the world, holding the vision, and then walking in faith to make manifest. So it's been this priming through the journeys. And about a decade ago, I was in a meditation and I heard a message to look up healing modalities. You're a healer. And it scared me. So I wasn't used to it quite yet, but I listened. And that led through a process within 2 days in a very synchronistic way, meeting my first teacher on the journey. So most of my 20s was embarking on these spiritual ways, traveling the world, sitting with indigenous elders and receiving the codes and how I just like to identify capital T truth, and continuing to build the entrepreneurship in me and the artistry and full expression of my beingness has been my own personal journey. And I get so much out of sharing, and I've been blessed where the way that spirit moves through me to share tends to support others in their journey as well.
And what are you working on right now?
A few different things right now. I have a fiction novel that got picked up by Pegasus Publishing, I guess like a year and a half ago now, but we're in the final stages where we're dialing into the launch date of it and the book launch that will be in the UK and the US. So starting to prepare for that and bringing that into the world in a proper way, which I'm still like in awe that we've made manifest of it. I'm working on an album. And then I still have the Heartspace programs continuing to go and flow as well.
And why did you start this business? What drives you?
Yeah, what drives me? What a great question. I feel I'm making an assumption. I would love if, tell me if it's truth for you, but I'm telling a story that it's almost the way that you ended up creating the show as well. There's times that there's just a knowing there's something for us to do and to continue to bring people together and to together we thrive and elevate. About a month or so, time and it's a little weird, but about a month after receiving the message for the healing modalities and all that started, it also came through me, the heart space. And I already was an entrepreneur. I have an entrepreneur, I was always looking through like, okay, we can start a business, da, 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 da. And so immediately I was just like, oh, this is going to be something. And so I wrote it down and I continued to sit with it. And now I've seen it continues to grow and evolve with me. So I like to say a lot of the stuff like, I didn't choose the path chooses me. Almost every endeavor I go into where I'm like, it kind of chose me. I get to consciously choose if I embark on it after hearing the call. But it's kind of, this is my mission. This is what I'm here to do, this incarnation, this lifetime, is to help us understand to not live in the head, but to allow the brain that resides in the heart to be the main brain, not completely obliterating the mind. We love the mind. We need the mind. That helps us to strategize and make manifest. But to have them work in a cohesiveness and to really allow the heart space to be activated. Because when we're here, we're fully tapped in. We're also completely grounded. And we can have that full expression and anchor in a frequency of our own personal heaven on earth. So that's what we're.
So, Heartspace is the name of your establishment. Can you kind of define what Heartspace is so people can understand?
Yeah, I mean, it's so fun when the significance of the heart space continues to grow within my own evolution, but also as we're watching so much of the external world changing right now, where I think we had it at least on the site. My team's always kind of fidgeting things on the site as per my own request, but we had at least on there at one point where, it's a quote from me where it says, listen, the heart space isn't a business. It's not a chakra. It's not a service. It's a lifestyle. It's truly what we offer within the heart space that we've created is transformational containers, one-on-one or with groups, and healing modalities and self-led courses all around in different angles of looking at the power of the mind. How can we start to become friends with it, looking at the power of our thoughts and our words, the understandings of the energetics? Really, it's a home of self-discovery. So that way we can step onto the path of self-mastery and live from the heart space. The heart space, in our energetic field, we have, aura vibes. It's an electromagnetic field. We're all emitting energy. The space at the center of the chest, not the anatomical heart, very powerful, very important. We kind of need that too. But the heart space, that energy, the electromagnetic field is much more potent in this space when we know how to be in it and open that. So it allows us to tap into our power as conscious creators and powerful beings at large. So we're here to just kind of, empower and uplift humanity.
That's fascinating. And I think that space is generally called by most people the heart chakra.
Yeah.
But, you have your own interpretation of it, sort of as this frequency therapist and Reiki master. Can you kind of get into a bit of that expertise you have and how you develop those skills and how you learn them?
Yeah, for sure. And just to touch on that, so people, anyone who's listening, don't, invitation, do whatever you want, your life, it's your rules. But invitation to not get too caught up on any of the certain jargons. There's no rights or wrongs. Even down to some people will be like, it's chakra, and some people will be like, it's chakra. Find what resonates for you and leave the rest, Just I feel the words, some people can get caught up in it so much and just like, it all just is. It's a concept. It's a frequency. If you're feeling into it, you're tapping into it, you're good. So yeah, I went through, as I've continued to grow and evolve within my own spiritual practice, working with various teachers or just spending time with self, going through the different certifications. And, I've been growing in my own being and my repertoire of service as well. So I've gone through existential crises sometimes where I'm like, how I've been identified doesn't resonate fully in saying what it is I truly do in a session. So I went through many of these. And one day I was really like hitting that where I'd be like, it's a nice thing for people to say like, this is Kelly, she's an amazing healer or she's a Reiki master. But there's a part of me that was feeling a subtle feeling of resentment when that was coming up. So I was like, that doesn't feel like it's truly expressing all of who I am or like the capacity of what I do. So I prayed on it for a while. And then one night I kind of shot up. It was clear it was frequency therapy. I was like, that makes more sense because we're bringing a mix of counseling. I do subconscious rewiring. I love neuro-linguistic programming, looking at the power of our words. How do we shift our words and our core beliefs to create different results in our lives, while also tending to how do we connect all parts of our being together? How do we, tend to the emotional body? A lot of the things that we will do in somatic therapy, CBT, and traditional therapy, while infusing them in with the transformational work and doing energy work when needed. I teach all my clients how to do energy clearings and create healthy shields, make offerings to the earth. So it's a really holistic aspect of looking at everything. While I don't believe we have to throw away therapy, I just think that there's additions that we can make as we're all expanding into the more multifaceted parts of our being.
Now, I'm a bit familiar with the term Reiki master, and you were talking a little bit about how you didn't want to throw yourself into these categories, and I respect that, but I think a lot of people would be interested to know what a frequency therapist actually is. What is the definition of?
Yeah. So a frequency therapist is a term that came to me. Like you might be able to. We could do it together now. Google frequency therapist in New York. I don't know, maybe from the algorithm of what's on my website, I'd pop up, but I don't know. That's really a term that I've sat with that came to me of how can I define what it is I do in a bit more of a concise way. So for the definition for us is I'm someone who helps someone break through blocks that they have mentally, emotionally, spiritually, the end. I help people create another life that they truly love and desire. And it's interesting. I was just spending time with a friend last 2 days, and she's an incredible astrologer. And we're talking about the theme that's coming up that the collective, by collective, I mean all humans on the planet at this time, what the collective is moving through right now, especially with this upcoming astrology for April, we're going through a trend of re-identifying how we relate to ourselves and how we relate to others. And a big piece of this is people may begin to find that they don't feel like they can use the identity that they've had, or we're seeing so much change in the job market now and people, building their own businesses where people are going to start to come up with their own unique ways to coin what it is that they do in the world is a common theme we can expect. And I was like, oh, girl, I was ahead of it. I was like, I came up with something like 6 months ago. So that's, a kind of theme that's happening. My prayers of those who hear this, and maybe that resonates something for them and they dive deeper into that space of it. I do infuse Reiki into everything that I do. I'm not shunning Reiki away. It's simply, I believe that the more I can share really vulnerably of the humanness and my own journey of expansion and adding, the more it supports others to do the same. So Reiki is part of everything I do. And my master attunement, my teacher said to me, listen, Kelly, Reiki is not something even you do. It's who you are. It's now a part of your auric expression. It's, I pray for the highest good of all the time, and Reiki is the universal life force energy that practitioners can then channel through themselves, and wherever they put their focus, that energy is going that helps to optimize the state of being within an individual's mind, body, spirit, shifting them more into alignment. And because it's pure, unconditional, universal light, its intention is always flowing to create an outcome that's for the highest, greatest good of all. So I use Reiki within everything I do, so we have that support and that current of outcomes for optimization and for the highest good of all.
So, speaking of what you do, who works with you?
Yeah. Primarily women. I have some men who come to me to do more of the Reiki studies or mentorship within their spiritual development. But in terms of the coaching, my 8-week group programs is a women's only container. And then prominently my one-on-one clients are women. I'd actually have them gravitate towards me. I am fired up by seeing a woman step into her power and remembering the truth of her being and clearing those blocks and rewriting those stories. Yeah, I live by the mantra, together we thrive. And we're in this time where it's just so juicy. So it's primarily women that I work with.
How do you get this type of work done?
How do you mean?
So, when you work with these women, how do you get things done? Like, what are they looking for usually?
How do I get things done? What are they looking for? Let's go with what are they looking for? A common undercurrent theme is within all beings, male or female. But our relationship to fear, we as a collective have room to grow within our relationship to fear. Sometimes we're very clear of what a fear is that is holding us back within something. And sometimes we can't, we know that there's something there saying, I want to go do this. I want to make that amount, or I want to feel more confident. I want to feel more connected to myself and all these things. And when we always boil it down, there's something that's happened from ages 0 to 11 running our subconscious mind. So our subconscious mind is running up to 90% of our day-to-day actions. Casual. And the crazy thing is it's subconscious. So we're not even aware of what's going on in the inner worlds that has us going and doing that thing or repeating that pattern, not being able to break through that glass ceiling, whatever it may be. So when people come to me, it tends to be they're ready to level up. There's a state of like, I can tell I'm not being my full self or my truth. And I want to be that in a transition in their lives, wanting to, I just like to say level up because it's a little bit different for each person of where they're at. I would say 97% of my clients also have a deep affiliation with spiritual aspect of themselves. They're either going through spiritual awakening, they've had some sort of devoted practice for a while, something that we can naturally talk about, some more of the unearthly things that are at play. So I say that's really what we're up to. It's people who know that they're like, I'm ready. I'm just tired of not moving on from this. And we're ready to like be badass mama jammas.
And generally, what are you passionate about for your business work?
I'm passionate about passion. I love seeing people thrive in their truth. Of that space of the reminders to people like, oh, wait, there is an option. Like I can do that. Like, of course you can. Now let's start to make a roadmap of how to get there and let's talk this thing. And then to see on the other side, I like to call them like my baby birds, like on the other side to see them flying into thriving and like living their passion. Because again, that circles us right back to the heart space. When we're clear of our passion and we're living it and we're moving in faith, we're operating from the heart space and we become walking permission slips to support others. Like, oh, I could do that too. I could do that too. And so it's, when I look at it from an energetic point of view, which is how I can see through a bit of just an energetic lens, or I'm looking at energy patterns or a visual of things, or I see this rippling out that's taking place and we're simply a support of it. I would say none of it's even me. It's something much bigger than me that moves through me to support individuals. So, we're out here just creating ripples of empowerment and people thriving in their truth. And, that's the mission. That's what we're up to.
Do people or specific people in life fulfill you?
Do people fulfill me?
Yes.
That's an interesting question. I'd say there's a few relationships in my life that there's a level of comfortability where I'm like, oh, we were definitely meant to meet this lifetime and you're meant to be in my life. That brings another quality of just like a sense of home. I wouldn't say complete me. It's actually interesting. We just posted, it's something I recorded when I was living in Costa Rica. So this was like 2 years ago. And I shared the story of how I married myself. Where an indigenous grandmother that I study under, when we first started working together, she's like, okay, so one of the first things I want to do with you, dearest, she's like, I want us to bring you into a divine union. And I was just like, yes, because I was like so ready for a partnership. So I thought, I was like, great, I've been wanting a partner. She's like, not what I mean. Actually, complete opposite. I'm going to ask you to take a vow of celibacy and to like focus on this process. I was like, this is a plot twist I didn't see coming. But she taught me how to begin the process of having the divine masculine within my own being, begin to court my divine feminine, and then to have them date, and to how to really find this connection between these two parts of myself within myself, where it did end up to me manifesting a engagement ring at the bottom of a tree, hanging out with a friend one day, and then having a ceremony and marrying myself. And through that process, I noticed how much I did still look outside of myself to find completion often. But now I'm really in a space where I feel very whole, and I'm deeply connected to the earth and to, a spirit better, higher than I'll just say God. So I wouldn't say people or anything external complete me or fulfill me. It's an extra boost to my life that brings me joy. Does that make sense?
It does, but I'm interested. Can you dive deeper into this whole masculine, feminine concept and how it helped your marriage? I like to learn about these concepts.
Yeah. So through various different lineages and traditions, there's a common theme. So rather than me going into nitpicking of a certain lineage, we'll kind of keep it because there's some generalizations that are across multiple practices, across time. So there's this understanding of there's an energetic current happening amongst all of us. In fact, if anyone who's listening, if they want to close their eyes and just set an intention, just command to yourself to feel the energy in and around you, you can start to feel like, oh, this is my energy field. Got it. Cool. So now within it, when we look at the energetics, there's actually like two large rods that are coiling together, starting at the bottom, and they're kind of coiling, making this ladder shape, almost like a DNA shape, moving through the body. There's one that starts on the left side, which is carrying more the qualities of the divine feminine. And then the right has the divine masculine. When we look at the traits of our feminine energy and our masculine, which again, where we can see in society, there's a bit of a pendulum swing where some people be like, I'm in my masculine, and then they're neglecting the feminine aspects of themselves, and vice versa, which is detrimental to us being whole in our power. So our feminine qualities are that ability to relax. Think of the yin, for any yogis out there who are just familiar, more that yin aspect. So the ability to be nurturing or relax, let things flow, more communicative, receptivity, things of that nature. Where then we have the masculine, which is more of that yang energy, that, the movement, the action, the discernment, the decision makings, things that are more the go, 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 go. So when we can have the two come together, well, then we can do that beautiful dance, maybe not all the time. It's just like a relationship with another human on the planet. It goes through waves. One might be a little bit more dominant or invested at one point than the other. And, it's this continuous coming back together to communicate, to know what's needed at what time. For me, I'll use a great example. When I'm more in my writer's hat or, working on our music, talking about, the music videos, this and that, I'm much more in my feminine because I'm letting that energy come to me to be in that creative flow. When I'm in a space with, a client, I'm bouncing a bit back and forth. There's times where I'm a bit more that nurturing and that listening. When I need to be a little bit more confrontational, poking at something, rattling the cage, making quick movements to help a breakthrough happen. That's a perfect dance of masculine, feminine. And when I'm in more of a business meeting, I'm sitting down to cut a deal, well, then I'm going to be more in my masculine. So it allows me to shape shift into different expressions of myself, never not being who I am, simply being different expressions of who I am in whatever moment is needed for myself to continue to create the world I'm creating.
Okay, now let's this is all quite interesting. Let's move forward here a second. So I think what else I'm thinking about here is if you weren't running a business, what would you do?
I would be writing a book and becoming everything that I'm now doing in like my free time. It all kind of blurs together. I'm doing. This novel's coming out and we're doing it the traditional route. So it's going to be in major bookstores and in libraries, doing book signings, doing the events, speaking opportunities. I'm making a music album. We're starting to get ready to do the music videos. There's a lot of play in my life, so it doesn't, I've released the story that I choose one thing that I do in my life, and then that's it. I've found ways to put into, what get prioritization of what needs the most energy, because they're just like a bunch of little children. They all need attention and focus, and some need a little bit more than others. But I'm really blessed to say I'm in a space right now where it wouldn't be I would do something else, because it's been a process. When I was getting more called into I really want to get into the arts more. I want to get back into this. I told my first stand-up joke at 6 years old to my entire school. I've always been a performer and in the arts, but I was doing this crazy binary, I have to quit Heartspace and go be in the arts. No, I don't want to do that. And I was causing so much inner turmoil within myself until one day I finally clicked, where it's just it doesn't have to be a this or that. It's a yes and so over the last really year and a half, it's been really integrating in. Once I got the book deal and I realized that we can be doing this and running the company and this and that, where I was just oh, that's right. Tony Robbins runs 150 companies and does all these different things. The only thing that limits us from being able to do more in our lives is, what are we telling ourselves? What are the subconscious beliefs at play? And how are we cultivating balance within our mind, body, and spirit?
What do you consider as the biggest achievement in your life?
May I give two?
Sure.
Cool. One will be short, then the other requires a backstory. This novel getting picked up, this is the childhood dream. This was, I wrote my first chapter book in 3rd grade. And being I'm going to be a New York Times bestseller. So that is I really kept showing up and holding that vision. And now we'll see where it goes. The other was my participation in something called the Ultimate Wish Tour. I'm very passionate about serving our children in the foster care system. I feel this is a population that the voices need to be heard and justice needs to be served. So I worked with an organization for a couple of years there, and I was the program director for what we called the Ultimate Wish Tour. Myself and 5 other people lived in an RV for 6 weeks, traveled from New Jersey to California and back. We went the top side of the country and then the south side of the country. And we had 13 city stops where we held an event for all the group, any of the community of the foster children where we could. Hasbro was a sponsor. We gave them a game, bowling, something that's such an average day in the life for a child, but to them meant the world, because they don't get those kinds of things. And we had 100 children who had all parental rights terminated as special guests, where we had our videographer, who's now a dear friend of mine, Ziggy. We did interviews with the children asking, what do you want in a family? Let's flip the script here. Instead of it being you sitting in a group home, waiting for someone to come and look through your file and then choose if you're deemed suitable to be in my family. What do you want in a family? Giving them a voice, putting some power back in their hands, and us broadcasting it with an intention to get these children adopted. Through it, out of the 100, we were only able to get 11 of them adopted, but tons of support for all of them in many other ways. And that for me, that was hands down the hardest thing I've done mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So that's something I still hold, where I'm we've supported in changing the trajectory of many kids, with specifically 11, and getting them loving homes. And that's something that I look back on often, and I'm just that was beautiful.
And how long did it take you to find success, especially when it came to getting those kids adopted?
So what I'm hearing the question there is, what was the time it took from the tour to children being adopted?
Exactly.
People being interested in starting the process, I'd say, for 3 to 6 months after the tour, the process of adoption and all of that is a whole nother world. So the timeline varied, but on average, I'd say everyone was complete with it probably within 2 years. But it's each state is a complete different game, and yeah.
Now, to sort of move forward here a bit, I think the next question I have is sort of along the lines of what other goals do you have in pursuit? Like, how can you sort of provide career advice to people, guidance?
One thing I'd say is getting really clear of what you want. I've noticed in my own experience seasons of being very clear and seasons not, because we're humans. That's how we learn. We learn through the experience of having and not having. So, a gentle reminder to someone who feels that they don't have something in their life right now, it's a game of polarity. You're learning what the experience of that thing is in this moment of not having it. So that way you're also going to be able to have it. It's just a game of polarity. So first and foremost, I don't know who needs to hear that, but it's coming through, so we'll say it, is getting clear of what it is that you want to create. What is it that is on your heart to create? And then with that clarity, it can begin to come through of asking the right questions. Asking the right questions to yourself, asking the right questions to mentors, finding, even if it's an internet mentor, someone that you can, start to learn a bit of the ways from them and the patience of it. Reoccurring thing I hear, first time I was in Guatemala and then from a Dogon elder. The Dogons are the indigenous native tribe from Africa. So I've studied with them a bit. And one of the elders said to me one time, listen, the quality of the answers you receive is in direct correlation to the quality of the questions you ask. And I was just like, and it really, we're working with this actually this week. I'm in my group program right now. And that's one of the main pieces of homework we're working with this week is explore what's the quality of the questions that you're asking. If we continue to ask ourselves, so let's keep it in the range of career, how am I ever going to be a millionaire? Or why can't I do this? Why can't, whatever it may be, not everyone's trying to be $1 million. That's another piece of advice. Write down how much you actually need to make. You don't need to make probably nearly as much as you may be telling yourself you need to make to live the lifestyle and the things you want to do. Like we're all so skewed on so many things. But sit and asking ourselves, what questions am I asking? Because we can be very subtly eroding ourselves into victim mentality. And when we can start asking questions such as, who would be a good person for me to learn from? What's a job that would provide me the experience for what I want to do? Or what service would really, that's on my heart, serve humanity? When we start to ask these powerful questions and we create a space to listen, well, then those answers can start to come through and people who are wanting to create something move through. And one last piece, and then I'll toss it back to you. I'm curious what comes up for you, is not being afraid. We're living in a society right now where, and I'm here for it. I love it. I was an entrepreneur right out of school. I've rode the waves. And I just it feels important to remember sometimes we have to support carrying the crown of somebody, be a part of a team, learn experience, this and that, to get where we want to go. So if there's anyone out there who's like, I know I'm to be an entrepreneur, but I can't pay my bills. Like, go find something in alignment with what you want to do, where you want to go. Go get the skill sets. Because again, this is all a game of becoming. There may be a delay on something because there's something that you need to learn, to grow, to build into for that grand picture. There's things I know I'm going to be doing in 2030 and beyond, and it's not time. I tried to push it a few times and I got humbled.
So how did you realize you were a mindset coach?
I love words. I've always had an affiliation with them. I've always been loquacious by nature. I love words. So I feel I came into this lifetime already understanding the power of them without knowing, my human self hadn't caught up yet. So as I started to do this work and studying it and learning it, for me, it's second nature. I'm always spending so much time with words. I'm studying the origins of them to understand. So again, I feel that's also been a becoming. Whereas also just as soon as I started teaching and running my first programs or writing my ebooks, that it was just there. It's so powerful. Like, I'm here to make change. Like, I'm also efficient. Like, I love efficiency. I love it. Like, if I don't, cool, we can finish this meeting in 15 minutes. We're not going to be here for an hour. Like, pack in the punch, And for me, the power of our thought and our word is everything. When we and that's something where it's in all the text, all of the things, and in applying it for myself and others. I know nothing in the grand scheme of things, and I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again. Thank Goddess. I can live with that, knowing that I can just, do my best. But one thing I do know, I know, you change your thoughts, you change your world, you change your world. The end. So I think it's a fire in me. It wasn't like I sat there and just said, okay, I'm going to go do that now. It's just who I am. The concept of be, do, have. Are you familiar with be, do, have?
No, what is that?
Cool. So be, do, have is a reflection point and helps us to make a roadmap so we can look at who we're being is affecting what we're doing in our day-to-day life, which is an equation. Being plus doing equals having. So we can look at it backwards. If we take an inventory of our lives and say, okay, so what do I have right now? And that's not just the money in the bank account or the partner. Those things are included, yes. But it's also what's your connection to self, what's your da-da-da-da-da, everything. What do you have? Okay, cool. So what have I been doing in my day-to-day? What practices do I have? What are the systems, the this, the that? And then also more important, who am I being? So we can start to look at that and say, cool, I have this and I want to have something else. Then you must change who you're being and doing. It's an equation. You're never going to have something different if you don't change who you're being and what you're doing.
So, speaking of what you're doing,
Yeah.
what is sort of the challenges that you're dealing with right now in business and work? And what are you sort of doing to overcome those challenges?
Yeah. I'd say the biggest is the getting more exposure out there. Like what we've come with, we had to sit, I sat with it of like, okay, I needed to go into the hermit hole and take care of myself for a little bit. Because what I wasn't doing was running, lifting, like the level of physical health that I love and thrive with, I wasn't doing for a season. So I needed to pause, was one thing. And also looking at the consistency of potential new clients. We didn't have a system really in place. And I had paused on really doing more of this. Getting out there, just sharing from my heart, knowing that who I'm meant to support and work with is going to hear this or see me on that stage or this and that. So the biggest challenge has been our lead generation for a season. And what we've been doing is starting to reach out. I'm doing more events again, getting on more podcasts. We're looking at, speaking opportunities to put myself back out there.
Speaking of putting yourself out there, how do you inspire people to go above and beyond?
I like that question. Something that I'm growing to get comfortable with. I'm not fully there. I'm getting there. I can feel it growing. Is the more that I do keep just being like, we're just going to do this. We're going to do this big. I can feel it. I've had the visions. I have, if I so choose, to go all out this lifetime and to play really big, it's here. And the more that I'm being like, all right, let's just do this. Like not doing this is going to be way more fun. And the more and more I just keep taking steps, the more and more fun that it is. And just overcoming my own fears and growing into it. And what I'm getting used to is many people saying, whether we're talking the business or the book or the music, whatever, I'm just out playing. I'm just playing in my life and allowing and being like, I'm here for it. Bring it. Like, I can hold this. I trust myself that I can hold the level of exposure that's coming. People more and more saying, this is really inspiring me. I saw this and it inspired me to go do this. So I like to think of all of us, if we so choose, we're walking permission slips. So the more that I'm just being like, yo, like, I'm just going to go do this. I know I need to go finish this album and like going to go put it out and like get on the stage and like share the music with the world. People are like, you can do that. Similar to where it's like, if you weren't doing your business, this and that, my hope is that someone heard them was just like, I can do that. I can run my business and do my creative ventures. Like, yeah, of course you can. Permission granted. You could do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you're so right, because I think so much times our society encourages me to do one thing or the other.
Yeah.
Now, I think my next question, I think this will fall really in line with what you were just talking about here. What are your thoughts on people who reward themselves for their achievements?
Meaning, like, people who celebrate themselves?
Yes.
I feel it's crucial. In a space of, we're essentially in many ways, 7 to 11-year-olds in big bodies. And it takes a lot of courage and takes a lot of parenting and a healthy dynamic of being an amazing mother and father to ourselves, and to hear that little one and have that perfect balance. We need praise. We need acknowledgement for the human psyche. For when we look into the studies of the human needs, to have that space to like hype ourselves up and to like be our own number one fan. Yeah, it kind of brings us back to the marrying ourselves. Like then it becomes cool. If someone else enjoyed it, there was an external, validation or celebration, bet that's cool. But I hyped me up. I did it. So I think it's really crucial that we do that. And it can be a great motivation source for us for our own motivations. Great example, again, I've gotten back into running. And so there's days that I don't want to go because I'm a human, and I'm getting back into training. So there's times I have to like bribe myself. I bribe my little one. I'm like, listen, if you go run those 2 miles, when you get back, you can have one of those yummy smoothies you like. And I'm just like, okay. So it's the game with ourselves. So I think we should celebrate ourselves. I don't think it should be a boastful. I don't think it should become ride the wave of look what I did for so long that we don't then get back to work and keep creating. But for a healthy dose of self-love, yeah, I think it's kind of crucial. I'm curious of your perspective. Do you agree, disagree? I love all different perspectives.
I think, when it comes to sort of rewarding yourself, I think it's important, and I think it could also teach things like gratitude. Do you have any experiences with gratitude in your life?
Yeah, it's a way of life right there. Gratitude's the attitude. Yeah, I have a gratitude practice, and I live in appreciation, where I'm drinking cacao right now. And before I drink it, I extend my thanks to the elements and place my intention. And I see every moment as a blessing. First thing I do when I wake up is say thank you. I'm so blessed that over these years of training myself, the first thing I do when I wake up is thank you. And before I go to bed, I have at least a short meditation practice, but some days, the days have been long these days, I might just hit the pillow and do a quick energy clearing. And then I just say, God is so good. Thank you so much for this day. Thank you for all that's happening. Thank you for all that will happen. Like, I love you. I appreciate you. And I'm out. So there's so many studies on this too. There's white papers for day looking at the biochemistry that takes place when we shift into the attitude of gratitude and the miracles that can take place. So yeah, I'm team gratitude all day.
So let's bring this back more to your services and sort of the things you are doing. So let's take a quick look at your website. And while we're looking at your website, can you tell us a bit about your book and The Heartspace.
Sure. Are we talking the book Rise Above Fear or the one that's coming out?
I was thinking more of the recent one that was coming out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so it's interesting where the book coming out, Welcome to the Heartspace, y'all, is a fiction. So it's a bit more of a lighthearted, whimsical way to drop into the world of a woman who spontaneously moves to New York City and finds herself going to different sorts of yoga classes to attempt to find a sense of harmony within herself. And she begins to go through a spiritual awakening. So it's a light read, has enthralls of dating and art and sex and, spirituality. And then the undercurrents, a lot of codes in the beginning process of her spiritual awakening. So this is the first, and it's a series. So it's just starting to get to know the story of where it all began.
And what type of genre is this?
Pegasus has chosen to categorize it as a contemporary fiction.
You mentioned chosen, so it sounds like you have a different idea of it. Am I wrong? Or
no, I think it's a proper one. It's been really beautiful experience of working with a traditional publishing house where there's certain things where I'm being guided, and I wouldn't know what genre to put it under. That's what I've learned to grow, and there's times for me to lead and then times for others to lead. This is what y'all do, and so they're like, this is what we're going to put it under. And I don't know, I wouldn't have put it under anything else, but I just won't take credit for something that's not mine. Yeah.
So what are some of the healthy habits you've sort of cultivated that kind of motivate you to sort of be productive every day?
Reiki is definitely one of them. Gratitude practice. I love cold showers. Cold showers are my jam. I'm a Kundalini yoga practitioner. That's a piece of the medicine bag here. So I've gone through seasons of my life when I was going through those training initiations. Let's just call it what it is. When I was going through those initiations, I was waking up at 4 a.m., dry brushing, cold shower, and 2.5 hours of Kundalini yoga a day. I've taken it back a few notches these days where, when I wake up, I'll still most days do a cold shower. It gets the endorphins going and creates a huge rush of dopamine and creates a really positive attitude throughout the day. And also just creates a little steady work state, meditation, and then a lot of the various different practices, through the subconscious rewiring, rewriting my story, and the indigenous ways that have been taught to me.
And I think for my last few sets of questions, what is your favorite quote? And what advice could you give to anyone?
We'll use a short one. I have many. As I've said, I'm a lover of words. But one that rings true over and over again, and I guess it definitely deserves a spot in my favorites if it's tattooed on my body. 3 words, let it be. The time that I got that put on my body was a very challenging season, which I didn't even realize was going to be a big catalyst to this whole journey. That's for another time of the full story. But the wisdom that lies within those 3 words, the let it be. There will be an answer. Let it be. Bring it to the Beatles song, which is what it totally comes from, the quote from it. That idea of things take time as well. The clarity doesn't always work on our own demands in our own way. And sometimes we just have to let things be. If there's an uncertainty of something or a dynamic with somebody, just let it be. Give it some time, give it some space. I always like to think of the gardeners, when someone goes out and they plant a seed, they're like, okay, this is going to be carrots. You don't go out with a project management tool and say, okay, Carrots, so you will be, I will come back in 2 weeks and you will be ready to go or you're fired. It's a process of letting it be, providing the nourishment that's needed. Sunshine, water, again, thinking of ourselves, thinking of our dreams or a goal we have. You continue to show up and nourish it with what it needs, including water, includes the tears, includes the sweat, includes the things that we must do step by step, but also let it be. We try to force and say you must bloom, at this state, well, then you might miss the secret sauce, right? Creation, whether we're talking of our business or a book or our own spiritual development, whatever it may be, creation, all of it's simply creation, runs on nature time. It doesn't run on human time. That would be, keep taking the inspired actions and, show up diligently and keep taking steps, but also give it grace. Let it be. Let it breathe for a little bit and stop trying to, I think all of us, we can stop trying to force everything so much. There's a divine timing for everything,
And what type of advice would you give to anyone?
Please be yourself. Please, please find the support that you need that can help to shine the truth of your magnificence and your power and support you in letting the things go that don't serve you anymore. So you can step into your confidence, be courageous, dance with fear in a healthy way, and shine. Because we need y'all. We need everyone to be okay, I'm gonna be me, and I'm gonna really be me. And to find themselves surrounded by other people who are doing it. So that's how we can change the world. That's a plot twist. You want to see how change the world? Just be the best, truest version of yourself. The end.
And how can we reach you? Anyone that's interested?
Yeah, please do. So you can reach out through the website. There's the contact link there. You can also connect with me on Instagram. I am Kelly Keefe. We have Facebook and LinkedIn. I think you have all of our links that will be included. So you can find us on any platform there that feels good for you.
All right. Excellent. Thank you for being on the show, Kelly.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So just to end this off, people, quick shout outs. First one is actually going to be our affiliate partner, LifeWork Systems. She's essentially an HR superstar. She goes into big corporate businesses and improves their work infrastructure. And she tries to teach businesses how to have a better collegial environment. Next thing we like to talk about, our YouTube channel. If you want more great episodes like this, if you want to learn more about successful people who have empowered their lives through business, spirituality, health, any type of area, please just ring that bell and you can get updates on each and every episode we have coming. And the next thing we like to discuss, our Roku channel. If you want to check us out on Roku TV, we're on there too. And then finally, we're going to be changing the name pretty soon, but essentially, if you want to be a content creator, if you want to learn how to save money and be a content creator at low cost, build your own podcast, build your own website without needing any type of distributor or anything, reach out to us. We could teach you a thing or two, and look at our content too on YouTube. All right. This is the Jimbo Paris Show. Thank you again for watching. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks again.
Ciao.
Thank you for listening to the Jimbo Paris Show.